Welcome back to my pandemic garden. My name is Spencer, and this is my monster piece of an antique tiller. And by tiller, I mean rototiller. It'll make a mess of your garden and take your toes clean off in the process. When it's running, that is, which is only every now and then. Alright, so the footage I started with was from last summer when the tiller was just cranking, doing pretty good. But yesterday I brought it out. It's like early spring right now. I brought it out, fired it up, made one pass in the garden and threw a belt. So today what we gotta do is crack into this guy. Basically there's a sort of complicated belt system right here, and you can see my belts are just kind of doing like a rattlesnake dance in there, just falling out. So I'm gonna pull this guy and in the meantime do a little bit of maintenance on this and see if we can't get it back in action. Hallelujah. There's actually a overview in here of how the belts run, and basically the idea is kind of cool, is that you can switch from forward drive to rear drive by manipulating this pulley. So we'll try to get it back in action, but first thing, it doesn't look like these belts are actually toasted. They just jumped. So first thing is just to get them back on track. That thing's loose as shit. Basically, here's how this thing works. It's a pretty janky system, but it's a system. So you get two belts. So this belt out here, just the shorter one, is the Tine drive. So when you're in neutral up here, this guy is just loose, just like flopping around like that. And the engine is spinning right over here, but it's not pulling the tines. And then when you click it into forward, you can see it tightens up and you get action on the tines. I've obviously got to replace this belt. It's not only worn, but just super stretched out, just suckishly stretched out. And then this belt, the other one that's just chewed up and within like a day of its life, this dude is the wheel drive. And what's funky about this one is that it's got forward and reverse. So right now it's kicked into forward, and I'll shift it into neutral. Similarly, it just idles. You know, everything just goes slack on it. But then if you pop it into reverse, you pull it up and it tensions right here. So basically it comes up against the drive shaft from the engine and gets the belt to spin in the other direction. Anyway, I'm gonna fire it up and see if I can get it to work. Usually if I run this thing kind of gently, it won't throw a belt. And here's the starting sequence. This is, it says it's the choke, but it's actually the throttle. So full throttle up here, and this guy is your choke. So you'll choke it for like 1 or 2 pulls, and then unchoke it. All right, so it's working again. It'll probably throw a belt in a couple hours, but in the meantime, I'm just gonna do some tilling and try to get my beds ready to plant. I guess I could address the great tiller debate here, which pretty much goes like this. You get the old school folks on one side, and they're from the era back when this tiller was built. And everyone had a big old tiller like this in their garden shed. And they tend to think that churning the heck out of the soil, like just really just churning it up with the tiller, that's where it's at. Till it up into the finest broken up goodness you can. You know, soil that just runs through your fingers, and then plant your seeds and wait for the weeds. And then there is the somewhat more new school philosophy, which is kind of a throwback to a time before tilling and plowing and all that disruption of the soil. And that school of thought is all about maintaining the integrity of the soil. You know, like you're thinking that there's all kinds of stuff living down in there and substructures in the soil, and it's holding it all together. And tillers are killers. So the thing to know about this forward drive tiller is that it's really different to operate than a reverse drive tiller. So, you know, if you're driving a reverse drive tiller, it's hard to say. You've got the wheels pulling you one way, you know, the wheels are pulling you forward, and those dang tines are going backwards. And they're kind of fighting against each other, but the ultimate effect, if you haven't run one of those things, is that the tines just dig in because they're going backwards, the wheels are pulling forwards, and those reverse tine tillers just crank through the soil, get a nice big dig and churn, and just till it up, really till it up. This old girl is a forward drive tine tiller. I don't know if that's what it's called, but anyway, the tines move forward, same as the wheels. So if you don't actually bear down on it at all and get it to disrupt the soil, it'll just drive like a four-wheel drive truck. You got the two wheels in front pulling, you got the tines pulling, it'll just walk across the top of the surface. If you slow it down a little bit, either with the bar, it's got a drag bar like all tillers do, or you slow it down manually, putting a little weight on it or just kind of holding it back, it will start to dig in, but only as much as you kind of let it. So really this tiller, it's not really even a tiller. Like it doesn't even just completely dig into the soil. It just kind of scratches the surface, at least on the first pass. If you do multiple passes, especially different directions, you can get it, the soil's all turned up, it's not hard anymore, you can get it to till in really deep. So you've kind of got those options. I wouldn't really recommend an old beast like this, but it has some virtues. The main one being that it was about $100 on Craigslist, and it only breaks down like once a week or something. But the other is that forward tine thing. It's unusual now. If you get a big old tiller, if you go out and buy a brand new tiller, it's going to cost you a lot, but it's also going to be reverse tine, at least everyone I've seen. And I guess people just like that deep till thing. Anyway, I've got more tilling to do, less talking. Better get on it. Okay, so back to the till or no till debate I was rambling on about earlier. Just because I'm out here tilling up a storm with my rototiller, it doesn't necessarily mean I want to discount the soil integrity people or really join up with the people who are pro-tiller. I think the deal with me is that I just really like running my rototiller. In case you want a more thorough walkthrough of the tiller, here's the deal. This is the business side back here. This is your depth adjustment. So basically, like all tillers, it's got a bar. This one's covered in junk. But anyway, it's got a bar that comes down. And these are the tines. I'm always cleaning these out if I'm tilling through, like weeds and thick old growth stuff. But through this mud, they actually kind of like self-cleaning. After a while, this stuff just kind of falls off. So not too big a deal. You can get a better look at the bar right here. Some of these bars actually stick down. There's like an actual long piece sticking down. And I was thinking of welding one on there, but so far so good. This is your throttle. The complicated system of forward, neutral, and reverse is right here. This is my perfectly rusted muffler. 7-year-old spark plug. This is the oil reservoir, and oil reservoir is kind of crazy. It has no dipstick, So basically you just fill it up till it pours out. There's not even a plug, you know, like a bolt on the side with a weep hole or anything like that, at least not that I've been able to find. And you can sort of see the result of those oil fill-ups over the years. It's just got a lot of built up oil and crud on there. This is your belly maker, and this is my leaky gas tank. Just one leak right here. I guess I could replace it, but you know, not doing too bad. This is the carb air filter on top. Last time I checked this last summer, it was looking just fine. You know, the thing about a tiller is you run it like a couple hours a year, so not that big a deal. Yeah, there's the air filter. It's dirty. I'll bang it out. And then there's a look in the carb, pretty straight up. This is that choke. You can see the choke plate. It's working pretty good. Look at that. It's a good seal. And then this is your throttle over here. Alright, now you have seen my tiller inside and out, and that is pretty much like gazing into a gardener's soul. And this is that time of the year where a lot of stuff is going on in the garden, mainly in terms of prep work. I've got a watering system I'm working out, some fencing to figure out where it fits into the overall plan of things, a tool shed that exists only in my mind but needs to be built, and then a few more things before getting to the darn planting of the plants. Happy gardening, you guys, and remember, there are more than one ways to shuck a pea pod.